The day my husband died started like any other. Alex kissed me goodbye, his laptop bag slung over his shoulder as he headed out for a business trip to Singapore. "I'll call when I land," he promised. "Love you, Sophie." Those were the last words I heard from him. Or so I thought. I'm Sophie Chin, and at 32, I became a widow. At least that's what everyone believed, including me. The call came at 3 a.m. Mark, Alex's best friend and business partner, could barely get the words out through his sobs. The private plane they chartered had gone down somewhere over the Pacific. No survivors found. I remember sliding down the wall, my legs unable to hold me up as the world spun around me. Alex and I had been married for 7 years. We'd been trying for a baby. We had plans, dreams, a future that vanished in an instant. The shock didn't truly wear off until I tried to access our bank accounts the next day. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Chen," the bank manager said, his face carefully blank. "These accounts were emptied yesterday morning. All transfers were authorized with the correct passwords and authentication." I stared at him, uncomprehending. "That's impossible. My husband, he died yesterday." The manager shifted uncomfortably. "According to our records, Mr. Chen personally authorized these transfers at 9:43 a.m. yesterday, before his scheduled flight." The numbers on the screen swam before my eyes. Our savings, our investments, our retirement accounts, all gone. Over $3 million vanished just hours before the plane went down. I walked out of the bank in a daze, my mind refusing to connect the dots that were becoming clearer with each passing minute. Alex had always handled our finances. He was the successful investment banker, while I taught kindergarten. I trusted him completely. That trust started to crumble as more details emerged. The private plane company had no record of Alex or Mark booking a flight. Our house deed had been quietly transferred to a shell corporation 2 months earlier. Even our safety deposit box had been emptied. "There has to be some mistake," I told the detective assigned to the case. Alex wouldn't. He couldn't. But he could, and he did. As the investigation unfolded, the truth emerged in painful fragments. The plane crash was fiction. Mark wasn't even in the country when he made that tearful call. Phone records showed he was in the Cayman Islands, where millions in cryptocurrency had been moved through untraceable accounts. My husband hadn't died. He orchestrated an elaborate disappearance, taking everything we built together. The worst part was the evidence of planning. Security footage showed Alex making multiple visits to a storage facility in the weeks before his death. Credit card statements revealed small purchases of camping gear, survival supplies, and burner phones. He'd been preparing for months while sleeping beside me every night. Our friends were stunned. "He seems so devoted to you," they said. "You two were perfect together." Were we? Looking back, I started to see the cracks I'd ignored. The late-night phone calls he'd take outside, the business trips that grew more frequent, the way he changed passwords and insisted on handling all our finances. I'd been a fool, blinded by love and trust. The house went into foreclosure. I moved into a tiny apartment, taking only what I could prove I bought with my teaching salary. The life insurance company denied my claim, citing evidence of fraud. Mark disappeared, his phones disconnected, his social media erased. Depression hit hard. I took leave from work, barely able to get out of bed. My sister Grace moved in temporarily, forcing me to eat, to shower, to keep living when all I wanted was to disappear like Alex had. "He's not worth this," she'd say, holding me through the nightmares. "You're stronger than what he did to you." But I didn't feel strong. I felt hollow, scraped empty of everything I thought I knew about love and trust. The students in my kindergarten class noticed the change in their usually cheerful teacher. Their innocent questions, "Why are you sad, Ms. Chen?" would bring me to tears. Months passed in a fog of grief and anger. I went through the motions of living, teaching my class, paying my bills, trying to rebuild some semblance of normalcy. But every night, I'd lie awake wondering where Alex was, what he was doing with our money, whether any part of our marriage had been real. The police investigation stalled. Without a body, they couldn't prove death or fraud. International financial regulations made tracing the money nearly impossible. Alex had planned his escape meticulously, leaving no loose ends. Grace convinced me to start seeing a therapist, Dr. Martinez, who specialized in trauma and betrayal. In her quiet office, I began to unravel the threads of my marriage, seeing patterns I'd missed. "He love-bombed you," she explained. The whirlwind romance, the lavish gifts, the constant attention. It was all designed to create deep trust quickly. People like Alex are master manipulators. They study their targets, learning exactly how to make them feel special. I remembered our courtship, how he'd seemed too good to be true, sweeping me off my feet with grand gestures and declarations of love. How quickly he wanted to merge our lives, our finances, our futures. But 7 years, I whispered. Who could pretend for 7 years? Sociopaths can, she said gently. To them, relationships are transactions. They can mimic emotions perfectly while feeling nothing real underneath. The truth was like acid, burning away the last of my illusions. Alex hadn't loved me. I'd been a long con, a cover story, a way to build legitimate wealth he could steal. Our whole marriage had been a carefully constructed lie. 1 year after his death, I filed for divorce on grounds of abandonment. The paperwork felt final, like closing a book I never wanted to read again. I changed my name back to Sophie Lynn, refusing to carry his name any longer. Grace helped me move to a new apartment, one I chose for myself. I started rebuilding, piece by piece. I took financial literacy classes, opened new accounts in my name only, and began to trust my own judgment again. But sometimes, late at night, I'd dream of Alex. In my dreams, he was always smiling that perfect smile, the one that had made me feel like the most special person in the world. I'd wake up hating myself for missing the man I thought he was. I had no way of knowing then that 8 years would pass before I saw that smile again. That when I did, it would be in an airport terminal thousands of miles from home. That the man wearing it would be standing with his new family, living a life he'd stolen from me. And I had no way of knowing that I would be ready for him. 8 years can dull even the sharpest pain. I had built a new life, one carefully constructed without any traces of Alex. I'd earned my master's degree in education, become a school principal, and even started dating again, though trust never came easily. The day everything changed, I was at LAX, waiting for a flight to a conference in Boston. My attention was caught by a child's laughter, bright and uninhibited in the way only young children can be. I looked up from my phone, and there he was. Alex stood about 30 feet away, holding hands with a boy who looked about 6. A woman in expensive yoga wear leaned against him, heavily pregnant, while a little girl clutched his other hand. They looked like a perfect family from a magazine cover. He hadn't changed much. A few gray hairs at his temples, laugh lines around his eyes, but still handsome in that polished way that had first attracted me. His suit probably cost more than I made in a month. Then he turned slightly, and our eyes met. I saw the moment recognition hit him. His face went pale, and he instinctively pulled his family closer, as if I were a threat. The woman, his new wife, noticed his tension and looked my way, confusion clear on her face. My hands didn't shake as I pulled up my phone. Years of therapy had prepared me for this moment, though I'd never truly believed it would come. I snapped several clear photos before he could react, then dialed a number I'd memorized long ago. Detective Rivera, remember that case from 8 years ago? I found him. Alex's expression shifted from shock to fear. He whispered something to his wife, who gathered the children and hurried toward their gate. But he stayed, watching me as I spoke to the detective who had never quite closed my case. When I hung up, he approached cautiously, like someone nearing a wild animal. "Sophie," he said softly, that familiar voice sending unwanted shivers down my spine. "Please, I have a family now." "You had a family before," I replied, my voice steady. "Or was I just a convenient mark?" He glanced nervously at the security cameras, the crowds flowing around us. "It wasn't like that. I was in trouble. I owe people money. Dangerous people. Disappearing was the only way out. And stealing every penny we had. Making me think you were dead. Was that the only way too?" "I can explain everything," he said, taking a step closer. "Maybe we could get coffee, talk somewhere private." "No," I cut him off firmly. "We're not going anywhere private. In fact, you might want to call your lawyer. The FBI is very interested in financial fraud cases involving fake deaths." His face hardened. "You don't want to do this, Sophie. Think about my kids." "I am thinking about them. I'm thinking about how they deserve to know who their father really is. Just like your wife deserves to know she married a con man." Security officers were approaching. I'd mentioned a possible fraud suspect when I called Rivera. Alex saw them too and straightened his designer jacket. "You're making a mistake," he said quietly. "I'm not the same person I was back then." I smiled, feeling calmer than I had in years. "That's where you're wrong, Alex. You're exactly the same person. You're still lying, still manipulating, still trying to protect yourself at everyone else's expense. The only difference is that this time, I can see right through you." The officers reached us. "Sir, we need you to come with us." Alex's mask slipped for just a moment, and I saw the cold calculation in his eyes that I'd been too blind to notice during our marriage. Then it was gone, replaced by a businessman's polite confusion. "There must be some mistake," he said smoothly. "I have a flight to catch." "No mistake, Mr. Chen. Or are you going by a different name these days?" His new wife was watching from their gate, concern evident on her face as she held their children close. My heart ached for them, innocent victims who would soon have their world shattered, just as mine had been. As the officers led Alex away, I saw him reach for his phone, probably calling the high-powered lawyers that our stolen money had bought. But it didn't matter. I had what I needed: proof that he was alive, evidence of his new identity, and enough photos to ensure he couldn't disappear again. Detective Rivera arrived within the hour, along with 2 FBI agents. They took my statement in a private office, documenting everything about Alex's new life that I'd observed. "He's using the name Alexander Whitman now," one agent told me. "Looks like he's been running a successful investment firm in Vancouver. Married, 2 kids, 3rd on the way. On paper, he's the perfect citizen." "He always was good at appearances," I said. As I watched them coordinate with Canadian authorities, I felt a strange mix of emotions. There was satisfaction, yes, but also sadness for his children, and something else: relief. Relief that I could finally stop wondering, stop looking over my shoulder, stop feeling like a fool for not seeing through him sooner. My phone buzzed with a text from Grace. "Did they get him?" "Yes," I replied. "It's finally over." But I had no idea then just how wrong I was. It wasn't over, it was just beginning. The arrest of Alexander Whitman, formerly known as Alex Chen, made international headlines. Dead husband found living double life. Multi-million-dollar fraud scheme exposed. The story was too sensational to ignore. His new wife, Rebecca, reached out to me through her lawyer. She wanted to meet, to understand. We arranged to talk at a neutral location, a hotel conference room with our attorneys present. She was beautiful, younger than me, and visibly pregnant. Her eyes were red from crying, but she held herself with dignity. "Did you know?" she asked immediately. "Was any part of your marriage real?" I shook my head. I'm still asking myself the same questions. I thought we were happy. I never saw it coming. She broke down then, her composed facade crumbling. 7 years, she sobbed. "We've been married 7 years. Our children. What do I tell our children?" The parallel wasn't lost on me. 7 years of marriage before he destroyed everything. I wondered if he'd planned to disappear on her too, eventually. The legal proceedings were complex, spanning multiple jurisdictions. The FBI uncovered a web of financial fraud stretching back decades. Alex hadn't just stolen from me. There were other victims, other schemes, other lives he'd ruined. His firm in Vancouver was built on stolen money and fake credentials. Clients' investments had been mismanaged, funds diverted to offshore accounts. The total amount stolen was staggering, over $50 million. Mark, his old friend who had helped fake his death, was found in Thailand and extradited. He broke down under questioning, revealing everything. The plan had been in motion for years before Alex died. They had set up shell companies, established false identities, created an entire shadow financial network. I testified at the trial, facing Alex across the courtroom. He looked smaller somehow, his expensive suits replaced by prison orange. The confident mask was gone, replaced by desperation as the evidence mounted. "Please," he begged when given a chance to speak. "I did it for my family. I needed to protect them." "Which family?" the prosecutor asked coldly. "The one you abandoned or the one you lied to?" The verdict was unanimous, guilty on all counts. The judge showed no mercy, citing the calculated nature of his crimes and the devastating impact on his victims. 25 years, she pronounced. No possibility of parole for 15. Rebecca divorced him immediately. We developed an unlikely friendship, supporting each other through the media circus and legal aftermath. Her children would need therapy just as I had. But they were young. They would recover, build new memories, understand eventually that their father's actions weren't their fault. The recovered money was divided among his victims. I received back most of what he'd stolen from me, plus interest and damages. But the real victory wasn't financial. I visited him once in prison, 6 months into his sentence, not for closure. I found that already. But to tell him something important. I forgive you, I said through the glass partition. Not for you, but for me. I'm done letting what you did define my life. He stared at me, that manipulative charm finally stripped away. How? He whispered. How can you forgive me? Because I'm stronger than what you did to me. I always was. You just helped me realize it. I stood up to leave, but paused. One more thing. Rebecca and I are starting a support group for victims of financial fraud. Your story is helping other people protect themselves. So in a way, you finally did something good. As I walked out of the prison, my phone buzzed. A text from my boyfriend James, a kind, honest man I'd met through my school's parent association. Proud of you, it read. Dinner tonight? I smiled, remembering how long it had taken me to trust again, to believe that love didn't have to be a weapon. James had been patient, understanding that my walls were built from hard experience. That evening over dinner, he proposed. The ring was simple, nothing like the flashy diamond Alex had used to win me. But James offered something far more valuable. Truth, partnership, and a love built on respect rather than deception. Yes, I said, tears of joy replacing all the tears of pain I shed over the years. Later that night, I stood on my balcony, looking at the city lights. I thought about the young woman I'd been devastated by betrayal, thinking her life was over. I wish I could tell her that the end of one story was just the beginning of a better one. My phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca. Support group meeting tomorrow. 5 new members. We're making a difference. I smiled, thinking about how life's darkest moments can lead to unexpected light. Alex had tried to destroy me, but instead he forced me to discover my own strength. His betrayal had led me to help others, to find real love, to become someone I was proud to be. The next morning, I walked into my school office, where pictures of my students lined the walls. Their trust and innocence reminded me daily why honesty matters, why integrity is worth protecting. A news alert popped up on my phone. Another financial fraud case exposed, another family devastated by lies. I added the victims' contact information to our support group list. Their healing journey was just beginning, but they wouldn't walk it alone. Because that's what survival teaches you, that your worst moments can become someone else's hope. That trust, once broken, can be rebuilt stronger. That love, real love, is worth the risk. Alex would serve his time, his children would grow up, and life would go on. But his greatest legacy wasn't the pain he caused. It was the strength he inadvertently gave to those he tried to break. Sometimes I still dream of that day in the airport, of seeing him with his new family. But now the dreams don't hurt. They remind me of how far I've come, of what I've built from the ashes of his deception. James and I married in a small ceremony, surrounded by real friends and honest love. Rebecca was my maid of honor, a twist of fate neither of us could have predicted. Her children call me Aunt Sophie, and they're growing up knowing that truth matters more than appearances. Life has a way of coming full circle. 8 years after my world shattered, I stood in front of our support group, sharing my story one last time before passing the leadership to Rebecca. Rock bottom, I told them, is where you discover what you're made of. And sometimes, the people who try to destroy you end up giving you your greatest strength.